a bed. What shall we send him?
Why don't you stop that?
Apple and dumpling. What shall we send it in? Stop. You have it your way every single day, Nellie. Well, today I want to play Uncle John.
We're on the Rosie.
Uncle John!
Continuing my conversation with Nellie Olsen of Little House on the Prairie, Alison Arngrim. Today on Pop Goes the Culture. I'm David Levin, and welcome to another weatherproof episode of Pop Goes the Culture. In part 3 of my talk with Little House on the Prairie's Nellie Olsen, Alison Arngrim reveals how she was propositioned by Herve Villichaize of Fantasy Island, how Alison's real-life in-laws reacted when they found out their son was marrying Nellie Olsen. But first, we talked about the great Sean Penn's guest shot on Little House.
Sean Penn was actually, he was like an extra. He was a gangly blonde kid. It's the Voice of Tinker Jones is the name of the episode, and it's the one where Chuck McCann, who's normally a cartoon voiceover artist, plays a deaf-mute man who makes little toys and metal things, and they make a bell for the church. So it's that episode, and it was so hot, and we spend most of the episode standing around a smelting fire where he's making like copper bells. So it's already 100 degrees, it's August in Simi Valley, and let's all stand next to a roaring fire with a bellows wearing 12 layers of wool and petticoats, because that's what you really need to do. So we're all going, I'm passing out, I can't see. Like our makeup is melting, and it's really hot, it's just awful. So I, of course, when we're like, pass out. I would pass out usually once a summer. And they're doing the salt tablets and they revive me. And they're like, what is wrong with this girl? And I passed out a lot. I was a skinny little kid and it was really hot. And I still don't take the heat that well now, but I know what to do and like how much water to drink. And so I'm like out like a light. So they're like, and people are starting to, cast aspersions and say like, is this girl up to this? Is she ill? Is she weak? What's wrong with this child? Oh, she's being a wimp. She's gold bricking, malingering. And then about the second, third day, the tall, blonde teenage boy goes splat right on the ground and passes out. And they said, wait, that's a big strapping teenage boy has just hit the deck. And they couldn't even wake him up. I mean, I was up like in half an hour. He was going to be taken away on a stretcher. And it was Sean Penn. And after that, they said, well, maybe it really is hot. And then about 2 days later, the director got sick. And then, grown men began to fall down. And they said, okay, it's actually hot. It's not just her. Grown men are passing out. And I remember...
You were the canary in the...
I am the canary in a coal mine. If it's too hot, I'm going to be the first to go. So if there's not enough air, I'm gone. So I didn't know, who this kid was at the time. So years later, there was a party I did not get to go to. My boyfriend at the time had gone to the party and had met up with Sean Penn. And then they were all going to another party. It's one of these Hollywood stories. There were several parties going late into the evening. And meanwhile, I'm home wondering where everyone's gone. And I get this call very late at night from a person I don't know. And he says, well, why aren't you here? And I said, who are you and why aren't I where? And he says, well, this is Sean. And your boyfriend said he was going to go pick you up and bring you over to my house, this other party. And I said, well, he's not home, and I don't know where he is, and he's, in a lot of trouble at this point. And no, he hasn't shown up to pick me up at his party, and who are you anyway? And he says, Sean. I went, Sean who? And said, well, Sean Penn. And I remember I said, Sean Penn? You mean like in taps? And he said, yes, that's Sean Penn. And I said, fabulous, what are you doing on my phone? And so we started talking and how, he'd met my boyfriend, what was going on. I was like, oh, cool, I must come over to your house at some point. And then he said, I was on Little House. I said, you're kidding. You were? And he starts telling me, yeah, it was that thing with the tinker, and oh man, it was hot. Yeah, I passed out like the third day. And I went, wait, you're the guy who passed out? And he said, yeah. I said, oh my God, thank you. I owe you one. He says, you're kidding. I said, no, you saved my reputation. They were starting to think there was something dreadfully the matter with me, that it wasn't the heat, that it was me. And because you passed out, you validated the fact that it was 110 degrees, and you probably saved my job and my reputation. So I owe Sean Penn one for falling down for me.
Nice Sean Penn story.
Who knew? Nice boy.
Faustino said that he stopped production on the set.
What did he do?
Well,
oh my God!
He was doing his scene. He was doing a good job, and then somebody said to him at the end of the scene, "This girl is going to come up and kiss you." And he was 5 or 6, and he burst into tears. And he was inconsolable. His father came up, his mother came up, and Michael Landon. They pulled him aside, And he said, I stopped production on the set for, he goes, for an hour.
He stopped production rather than kiss a girl. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And they said, I kept saying, but wait, when you're 13, you're going to love it.
But see, I mean, that was good. At least they stopped production. Now, a lot of shows, they'd have just gone, get back to work, you little punk. But on Little House, yeah, if you were really having a problem, they would, stop and, make sure you were okay.
And work it out for you.
I never really got the romantic stuff. That was always a thing, because boys would come to the set, all our guest star boys. They would always fall in love with Melissa Sue Anderson, because she was married, the blind, she was pretty. And Melissa Gilbert, and I'm like... And we always had crushes on these boys. And they like her. They went and marry. Hey, they're going to talk to us.
But blind girls, you don't have to worry what you look like.
Yeah, I guess what they figured. She's blind. She's vulnerable. I think they thought she was really blind. So, yeah, we never got anywhere with anyone. And then finally I started having these romantic episodes where I married the son of the pig farmer. And that was good. I got to do a lot of kissing in that episode.
Step up.
I was married, and then I eloped with the pig farmer, and then Mrs. Olsen broke it up with a shotgun. But I got to do a lot of kissing, and then, of course, when I married Percival, I got to kiss like mad every episode after that. So I probably got to do more kissing than almost anyone else on the show. It's really cool.
Evil characters, the actors and actresses kind of pay the price a little bit in real life.
You're telling me. Yes, do people rotten pay the price in real life? Yeah. I mean, I've gotten so much out of it. Like I said, it's been very freeing in a way. But the things I've had to put up with, and it's actually been really hard on my friends and family and loved ones. You're friends with Nellie Olsen? Why? They take way more crap about it than I do. I mean, people are less likely to give me grief because, well, I might hurt them or something. People are afraid of me. But my poor husband. Well, okay. So my husband Bob, we're finally getting married, and he was like the last kid in his family to get married off. So the parents were really excited. So he calls his parents in Ohio to tell them, I'm finally getting married. They're like, thank you, thank God. And they said, well, who's this girl? Oh, it's Alison Arngrim. She's an actress. Oh, that's wonderful. She'd been in anything we would have seen. A Little House on the Prairie. Well, I mean, these people live in Deerfield, Ohio. Okay, so it's a Little House on the Prairie. So I said, who'd she play? And he says, Nellie Olsen. And it was like the line went dead. There was this terrible, long silence, pin drop. Finally, his father says, well, she's not like she was on the show, is she? And, of course, he's like, yeah, she's a bitch. That's why I'm marrying her. What is wrong with you? And so now, of course, they love me because, I cook like a good Italian girl and I do all the right things. So it was all fine, and they came to the wedding. But this is a running thing, and people still, my husband meets people, and after a while they find out, and they go, so is it true you're the guy who's married to Nellie Olsen? And they just give him all sorts of crap. And my friends I've had for years say that people will say, so is it true you're friends with her? Well, why? I mean, have you been to her house? I mean, why are you... Melissa Gilbert was in Ireland. She was speaking at a school several years ago, and she said first of all, she found out that they now call the school bully in Ireland the Nellie. It's just, that's what you say, oh, well, she's the Nellie. That's what you call a bully. It's now a word in the language. And she's talking to all these kids in Ireland. They're like, who are you still friends with from the show? And she says, oh, well, I still talk to them, but I'm really good friends still, with Alison Arngrim. And they all said, why would you want to be friends with her? And so this is quite a burden for people to hang out with me, that everybody knows if they're around me, someone is going to go, so what's she really like? And look at you funny for talking to me. It's difficult. I remember years ago I dated a guy I only date guys who'd never seen the show. I couldn't go out with anyone who watched it. My husband, we've been married 12 years. He's seen 8 episodes now. And he's finally started watching the DVDs. He rather likes them now. But I couldn't go out with anybody who'd ever seen the show because it was too weird. They either wouldn't go out with me or they wanted me to wear the wig. So it's bad. So I just couldn't do that. But years ago I was dating this guy, and he had no idea. He didn't watch a show, and he just had no concept of who I was. And this was great until he ran into his friends, who of course had seen every episode, and I was the bitch and blah blah blah. And they said, so we hear that girl you're dating's a real bitch. Great. So 3 fist fights later, broken furniture and near lawsuits. He was getting in fist fights because people were saying that the girl he was dating was a bitch, and he had no idea what they were talking about. It's Yeah, so it has created some problems, mostly for people around me. I mean, I've adjusted. I adjusted very quickly early on. Well, I mean, I talk about this at the first day. I had to adjust. The show had just aired. I'm, 11 and a half, 12, and it's just aired. And I go to school the next day, and I'm at Bancroft Junior High, and I'm thinking, well, this will be cool. I'm on TV. I'll be popular now. I mean, this might improve my life because I wasn't real popular. So I'm like, yeah, I walk out of the school grounds, and the show's been on exactly 12 hours. I mean, it's been on for that's it. This girl up on the landing screams at the top of her lungs, "You bitch!" And I'm just like, oh my God. And so I turned towards the sound. I realized because whatever I did at that second was going to set the tone for the rest of the school year and like the rest of my life. That was it. It was like, what do you do now? Answer her, because this is where this is going. And so I turned around and I said, "Thank you," and I bowed. And that was it. It's like, okay, fine. I immediately took the bull by the horns and went, okay, you can call me a bitch. Well, I am a bitch. And so I took it on. So that has worked. Because otherwise it would be plastic surgery, leave the country. There would be just nothing I could do. I couldn't go outside. But yeah, it's rough on the rest of the folks.
Tell me about Fantasy Island.
Fantasy Island. Well,
Fantasy Island.
In the 80s, I did do Love Boat and Fantasy Island because it's the law, basically. If you're on a series in the 70s and 80s, you had to do an episode of Love Boat and Fantasy Island. It was like a court-ordered, community service program for actors. You will now do your court-assigned episode of Love Boat and Fantasy Island. So I was a hooker on Fantasy Island. I think a lot of people were hookers on Fantasy Island. That was big then.
That was the fantasy.
That was the fantasy. Oh, let's take someone from the Last of the Prairie and we'll make them a hooker. So I was a hooker on Fantasy Island. It was horrible. Fantasy Island was rough because, Eve Plum, Jan Brady, played my mother, which makes no sense because we're the same age. Hello. What happened is that Eve, Jan Brady Plum, comes to Fantasy Island, and her bit is she comes to Fantasy Island and she's pregnant, but she has a terrible, mysterious TV disease where she's not going to grow up to see the child. So Ricardo Montalban takes her into the future to see her child grow up. Come with me. And he was fabulous. He was so Mr. Rourke. It was like, welcome to our set, welcome to Fantasy Island. It was like, she's actually Mr. Rourke. So he takes her into the future, and she sees her child as a little girl, and then she sees she's having a troubled adolescence, and then she runs away from home. And so suddenly she lands on this place, and she says, "Oh no, Mr. Rourke, why are we in this terrible neighborhood?" "I'm very sorry, but your daughter has become a big whore." And I'm wearing purple spandex and these huge earrings and just pounds of my hair is all piled up, and I'm against a lamppost and the pimp is slapping me, and it's just a nightmare. And then I'm in this brothel where I'm being auctioned off to Lucky Eddie for $5,000, which was a lot in 1980 then. And she breaks the Back to the Future kind of thing. She goes into the future because she's going to go into the brothel and save me. So she gets kidnapped by the pimps, and she gets dressed up in bad 1980s hooker wear. And then there's it's just awful. Eve
Again,
Plum.
that's the fantasy scene.
That's right. So Eve Plum and I in these just these outfits, painful, and the hair, no, this is nightmarish thing. So very frightening hair and clothes, and we're trapped in this thing. And she does rescue me from Lucky Eddie, but it was awful because I had these incredibly high spike heels, and I had this little tiny swimsuit for the "we're gonna sell you" scene, and it was literally two sizes smaller than what I wore. So I kept pulling up to cover. And then I'd go, "Oh no!" And so then I had to pull it down to cover things like, "Oh, that's not good either." And so I spent all day trying to cover things that could not be covered with this amount of fabric and with the thing, and it was very, very brutal. And Herve Villichaize, an unhappy man. He was sort of a walking one-man sexual harassment suit. Herve dealt in volume. Basically, he figured if he asked everybody in the world to have sex with him, someone would say yes. And it worked. I mean, he dated all sorts of models and things. So, but it was having this little Herve person constantly just right there going, and it was very frightening. So I was chased around by Herve Villichaize. But everybody got chased around by Herve Villichaize.
You think it was maybe deliberate that the outfit was a little too small?
Oh, completely. They knew my sizes. I mean, I was already tiny. I was like 19 years old, so I was like a size 5 or 6, and so the swimsuit's a 3. You know, it's like, yeah, right, like they really thought that was my size. No, they completely knew. They went, oh, yeah, that one fits real good. Here you go. No, we don't have a robe. And so I was like freezing to death all the time. Hey, Herve, here, help her get in the suit. So, yeah, it was it was rough. Love Boat was more fun. Love Boat, I was Becky Daniels. Once again, a rotten ex-child star. Well, she's a little child star filming the Becky Daniels show on the Love Boat, and of course, I'm evil. Oh, Nancy Culp from the Beverly Hillbillies played my Aunt Gert, who takes me onto this show, and all sorts of weird people. So they had all this whole Becky Daniels show, and I'm in all these cute little outfits and braids. It was just really silly. And then, of course, I'm this horrible spoiled. I'm like, yeah, keep her away from me, Aunt Gert, and I'm just awful and evil. And then poor little Jill, the captain's daughter, she gets to be my stand-in, but this just means she gets buckets of water and hit with pies and treated hideously. So yes, the Love Boat was good.
Have any memorabilia from Little House that you kept?
No, we didn't really get to keep much from the show. I don't have anything. I have a bumper sticker that the crew had for the trucks. It says Little House on the Prairie. I have a T-shirt. What do I have? I have all the gifts. I don't have any stuff from like the set or the show. I didn't get my boots. I really wanted my boots. I had these nice high-button boots. They were pink. The other girls had the black little high-button boots. I had the Mary Janes, and then I got pink leather with little pearl buttons. And I don't have them. And I didn't get the wig. The wig costume was like, I was not allowed to touch the wig. The wig went on my head, the wig came off my head and like into a safe. So like forget, I did not get the wig. I have a fake version. Wig's like in the Smithsonian or something. I don't know where the wig is. I didn't get anything. I have all the gifts. We had weird gifts every year. I have like all sorts of little things that say Little House on the Prairie on them that different people would give each other for Christmas. I have the tea set. The tea set. So big.
You're not going to be putting them on eBay or something?
No, I do sell things on eBay all the time, but I don't sell my actual personal like Little House stuff. I have the big honkin' tea set from Tiffany's. This is a big silver tea set. It's nice, and it says Christmas, Little House on the Prairie. And a lot of people have sold theirs because it was kind of a drag. That was the tea set we got the last year. And the problem was it was like counted as a Christmas bonus and we got taxed on it. And it was really like this bad. There's like, what? And it was like this huge kerfuffle and like big faux pas and people returned their tea sets. I was like, oh, the tea set crises. Like I said, yeah, this was a crisis on the set of Little House on the Prairie. I don't like my tea set. Yeah, boo-hoo. So this was as bad as it got. We had a tea set crisis.
That's all for now. Next time, Alison talks about why she left Little House after 7 years. 20th century relevance in 19th century Walnut Grove, and why Michael Landon really blew up that town when the show ended. I'm David Levin. You can follow Pop Goes the Culture on Twitter at PopGoCulture, on Facebook, or email me at popgoestheculturetv@gmail.com. And if you like us, please share and subscribe. I'll see you next time. Ouch! Ooh.